The Alpough Show, the human spirit experiment with Het-Heru, talking about chakras. The show starts now. And what's up, everybody? Hey, how you doing out there? It's Wednesday, Wednesday, but Wednesday. Okay, that's what we call it, Wednesday. You know what Wednesday means? The origin of it. Wednesday is named after the god Odin. You remember Odin in the movies, right? Odin with the hammer, putting the hammer down. And guess what? Who's the father of? Thor. What's tomorrow? Thursday. So they each have their own little day together. So listen, before we get started here, I need you to subscribe to my channel. You need to go there and then press that bell. Press that bell because YouTube isn't giving me any love. So if you press that bell, then it will come to you. Otherwise, they don't like to put me in their search engine. So please help me out. All right, so listen, what are we doing tonight? We're gonna slow down. And then so that maybe we can speed up without not moving. Because tonight we have the fabulous Het-Heru. So before we get started here, I'm just going to let you know some of the things. What we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra. The fourth chakra is also known as the heart chakra. This is the center of love, compassion, and forgiveness. It's located in your chest. And it's also where you feel love for yourself and others. Our heart's energy radiates out through our arms and hands, giving us the ability to connect with other people's feelings. The fourth chakra also has a lot to do with how we see ourselves and how we want others to see us. It's where we get our sense of self-esteem from. The fourth chakra represents love for oneself, love for others, and love for everything in life. This includes our environment and all living creatures on earth. The fourth chakra also governs our spiritual growth as we continue on our spiritual path. And without further ado, let's bring in Het-Heru.
Hi, Michael.
We have an audience here.
Yes.
We have an audience. Everybody, come on, sit down. Thank you so much. Het-Heru, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. I'm doing really well, and you?
I'm doing really good. It's so wonderful to see you. We had such a great, our series has been going so well. We've been getting lots of likes. You've been getting comments, and it's just such a great, fabulous. My ability to even communicate you is really cool. Last week we were talking about breath, and I want you to know that I started doing some of those exercises that you had brought up, and it really helped my breathing. And I hope someone else, if you hadn't done it, you would consider doing some breathing. We're going to be doing more of those exercises, but today, this is one of my, if I'm going to go which one I like the most, it's got to be the heart. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, in case you didn't know, anybody, when you're the spermie and the eggy, they get together and they form an egg. You know what the first 512 cells are? The heart. Well, doesn't that make sense? That begins everything, right?
Yeah,
and the next part is the brain, which is your imagination. I guess you got to imagine that body of yours being created. So let's just get started here. A little bit, maybe a review on what we talked about this week, last week a little bit, and then how you want to go into talking to the heart chakras. Again, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I want to, first of all, because so many of you are texting me or emailing me or whatever, how much you're enjoying the show, please do what Michael's asked and subscribe, because that helps us to keep this going, keeping the flow going. So please do that for us. And also, I know it's a rough time. I turned on the television this morning and I was just very quickly wanting to turn it off, because the message is not a positive one, and we're really having to exercise our power in order to stay in in a empowered state of mind. I don't really like using the words positive and negative. They have a place, but for the work that I'm talking about, but just an empowered state of mind. So I want to start off to bring us collectively together into the heart energy, and we're going to do some of what Michael was talking about, a breath, and we're going to add mantra when we go to the fifth chakra, which is next week. I'll be talking about that more. In the Indian culture, there is a mantra, inhaling and exhaling. It's so hum. Remember, we're breathing from the throat, and that means I am. Okay, and they would say he. Someone might say she, but what we're going to do, because we're bringing it from the Kemetic, the ancient Egyptian culture, we're going to instead use the affirmation that is used with the sacred love oil for the heart chakra. So when you'll inhale, that's so hum I am, and then you'll exhale, I am a sacred, loving being. And if there's a biblical saying, when two are gathered in my name, well, it's basically wherever thought goes, energy follows. So if even just 10 of us, 20 of us, whatever, if we can come together, we'll make an impact on what's going on in the world, and know that that is true, because we are a lot more powerful than what we're taught to be. So remember, you're just going to inhale, and then and that'll be so hum, and it's it's all up in your mind that you're saying this. You're doing it quietly, silently, but it's saying so hum I am. Then as you exhale the hum, you'll say I am a sacred, loving being. So are you ready, everyone? Take a deep breath. So, and then as you exhale, I am a sacred, loving being. We'll do it two more times. Inhale. So I am. And exhaling, a sacred, loving being. Feel it. Get into it. Get into the energy. Everything is energy. All right, one more time. Inhale. So I am. And exhaling, a sacred, loving being. And just sit in that for a moment. I said we're calming the energy down. We're moving back into our power. Okay. All righty. So, and you can do that a few times a day whenever you're feeling anxious or frightened or whatever you're feeling. Do that, and it'll help to calm you down. So, and as I was saying, it's kind of rough out there. A lot of stuff going on. I will repeat what I said a few moments ago. Wherever thought goes, energy follows. So if our focus is on the the disturbing things that are happening, if we keep our focus there, we empower that. But if we collectively focus on the truth that you are a sacred, loving being, and not only you, everyone who taps into that energy, because that's the truth of us. I am a sacred, loving being. Then watch what happens. It's going to have a tremendous impact on the whole world. I know a couple of years ago, when things were just so crazy, and not only with COVID, but the other things that were happening politically and whatever, I made sure that I took some time every day and got quiet and called upon those of like mind, the healers in the world, and that we collectively saw that the world was getting better, that it was healing, and that we were all moving back into our power, and that things were being placed in their right place. And by the right place, I mean a place of balance. So, um, but as I said, you can do that a few times a day, and it'll help to calm you down. And please, please, please don't sit in front of the TV. I love television. I always have. However, I'm selective with what I look at. Wherever thought goes, energy follows. So if you want to keep up with what's happening, that's fine. I understand that. But look at it, and then give yourself some other time, some other space, some other focus as well.
Yeah, go out there and get some sun, get your
Yeah. In
vitamin
this
D.
beautiful weather we're
You
getting. Yeah.
know, just take that moment, just to walk outside. It doesn't take but a minute to get medicine, the sun, your vitamin D,
It's true.
and to breathe out in nature.
Correct.
Um, I I just really loved how you said we're all sacred beings. This is
That's
not a
right.
religious channel. This is not a religious program.
No.
This is about you as an individual. It has nothing to do with what your external beliefs are. This is about you on the inside. Everything here is what will make you better. If it's make you a better Christian or Muslim, it will make you better. This is all about it. And no one is trying to sit here and rob you of what you believe in. Now, now this could change you for the better, if it's about you uplifting yourself, you know what I mean? Getting
Right.
to your higher, even hearing spirit even more. Okay. This is not overnight. This is why I'm having Het-Heru here, hopefully on a weekly basis, so that you'll know that this is this day where it's about being sacred. It's about
Yes.
being sacred.
And
Um,
I feel you. I feel your fear. I can feel anybody that's sensitive, anybody empathic person. We feel the fear that's going on in the world. But as I said, wherever thought goes, energy follows. So if we can focus on something else, that will change.
could you go into the word sacred
Mm.
and what that means,
Okay. So as I've said before, this we've shifted
or
from the Piscean
sacral?
age.
Okay, you know what I mean. Sorry.
You okay? You're all
Yeah,
right.
no, no, I said sacral. SAC, the sacred
Okay.
sacral. Yeah,
You want well let me just okay. So we're a multi-dimensional being, first of all. Okay. We live in many different dimensions, not just this one. And the energy, if he's talking about the sacral plexus, is where the spiritual energy lies. But in this Aquarian age time, and I say this in every show, if for you to be listening to what we're sharing, that energy is already awakened in you. And unlike the Piscean age, the Aquarian age is the individualization of one's own sense of divinity, knowing you as the creator or the higher power or light or whatever you want to call it in expression. That's what I'm saying. If we want to make these changes that need to take place now, collectively we can make that because we are truly very powerful beings if we learn to take back our power. Years ago, I had a teacher. I've had wonderful mentors, and this gentleman, his name was Frank Evans, was an esoteric astrologer. And he was teaching me, I'm not an astrologer, but he was teaching me some very important lessons. And one of it was to understand that everything was energy, and that he would watch me react to a certain student in particular, because it was just different energy than the way I express and experience. And so he would sit back and he'd say, "Sweetie pie," he called me sweetie pie. He says, "Sweetie pie, you have to take back your power." So it's the same way. By knowing who and whose you really are, not what the world is telling you, but what we're sharing here, the truth of going within. And oh, by the way, in addition to what Michael was saying, when I'm asked what religion do I follow, I tell them, well, if I had to give it a name, I consider myself more of a universalist, because wherever I hear truth, if it's truth for me, I embrace it. So I don't, for me, I'm talking about for me, I don't limit it in one specific name, ism, Buddhism, whatever. But I can find, if I see truth in a movie or whatever, if it's something that I can just resonate well and it's going to enhance my life. So again, the see, sacred to me is that deep, deep essence within you, that no matter what is going on in the world, it stays there. It stays balanced. It stays calm. It's that place that you don't let another person soil, for one of another term, because all they want to talk about is what's going wrong in the world, and in particular, their world. You learn to protect that. As I've mentioned, I love dancing. I go out to here in Vegas. We've got a lot of casinos and lounges, and you can go. And I don't drink, so that I don't go to do that. But I do go to listen to good music and dance with my friends. But because I don't drink, I'm vibrating differently, and I can see things differently than those who are enjoying their whatever it is they're drinking, and they kind of get um, their their restraints are not as strong, for one of another term. And I, whenever it gets to a point where the energy starts shifting too much where I am, I leave because I don't want anything to affect the efforts, the daily practice that I do to keep that sacred energy. I'll share with you an experience. Many years ago, my best friend and her husband uh, made their transition via an automobile accident, and I of course went into a period of grief. She was my best friend, and I can usually, because I told you, I had gone through years before a situation with depression. I learned how to not allow that to control my life. I learned what I needed to do in order to not fall into that again. So here I was, grieving my friend, and yet it was starting to kind of move in the direction of this depression. So I started applying what I needed to do in order to keep myself up out of that. It wasn't working. Always before it had worked, it wasn't working. The town we were living in, we had made friendships with a couple. The husband drank a lot and other things a lot. And we would go over to their house for dinner or whatever. And another word. Please understand me. I'm not putting down alcohol. I'm not doing that. To each his own. But this was my experience and what I had to learn from that. So um, all of a sudden, I got a hit why I was not able to take control of this darkness that I was experiencing. My guides, of course, they were speaking to me, and they said, "Well, the other word for alcohol is spirits." And because he had created this dark energy with him. Here I am as an empath. mm, and I, at that time, I used to drink some wine. My students will tell you that I used to drink some wine. And I remember realizing that the reason I was unable to overcome this darkness was I was opening myself up to his dark energy. And they then said, you have to take back your power. And I turned to my then partner and I said, I'm not drinking anymore. I didn't drink a lot, but either way, I said, I'm not drinking anymore. And as soon as I did that, then I was able to take control of the situation. And a couple of years later, Het-Heru's chamber began to channel the ancestors started channeling it through me. So I had to shift my energy someplace else in order to be a vehicle for these wonderful oils to come through, these sacred oils that connected with the sacred self.
Yeah, the sacred oils. You know, uh, let me just talk a little bit about the sacred oils. Okay, I've been involved
Okay.
with, and since 2007, I think I first found Het-Heru in the Living Temple. Give a shout out
Yeah.
to the Living Temple in Huntington Beach. If you're, it's as far as I know, Rob is still open. I still get his emails, and the moment I smelled it, mine was Maternatter. The moment I smelled her essential oil, there was something physiological, spiritual, I don't know, but I know that I felt better. I'm not kidding you. I I'm just, this is the only way I can describe the reactions from the oils. And I know everyone thinks, okay, it's not a perfume. Okay, good. This
I
isn't a
know.
perfume.
I know.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's not perfume.
All right. If you, after you smell her oils, after you partake in her oils, you won't ever wear cologne or perfume again. I mean, I'm literally, when you, okay, if I put on cologne, right? Never worked.
Yeah.
I knew, and I had cologne, when I got her essential oils, and then I got the sample pack. And so it all changed me. Each one gives you a feeling. Now, here's the key. If you're open, okay, if you're closed off, um, then you can just be closed off anyway, okay? Part of you has to be in a place of openness. And I'm saying to you, if you're watching this show now or later on. And for those who are going to be watching later on, apply these principles no matter what we did at the beginning of the show. Take the breath. Come along with us. Okay, it's okay. All right. So now, of course, um, I'm a heart guy. Um, everything to me, the heart is part of the brain, uh, just like the gut is part of the brain. They're all kind of three. I mean, the whole body's
Connected.
connected. Okay,
Sure.
but the heart generates more energy than any part of the body. It has to because it stops and it's over. So our heart, um, it's so important. If you've heard, there's a syndrome. It's called broken heart syndrome. Literally, broken heart syndrome. Just to give an example, they say that Carrie Fisher,
Mhm.
okay, when she died, her mother died the very next day,
Yeah.
okay, because it wasn't, there was nothing wrong with it. They say that it literally, when you die of a broken heart, it cuts off a ventricle.
Yeah.
You want to leave. Okay. So this is why it's so important to understand your heart, because it can lead you any way. It can lead you into the positive way, but it can also lead you into your emotional state. And this is why it's about actions. We talk about the actions, because this is all about making better actions. So
I
when we're
wanted to share, if you
yeah,
don't mind. Yeah.
no, please.
Many years ago, this movie was on demand or something the other night. Oh no, the TMC, the movie channel, whatever it's called. And it was a movie I had watched when I was a teenager, a young teenager. Some of you might remember it, Summer Place with Troy Donahue and Sandy D or something like that, Sandra D. And when I was that age, that movie made such an impact. And this is, what love was and all this other stuff that at this phase in my life, I look back and I go, what nonsense. But you don't know that when you're that age. And as we grow and evolved, we begin to understand the nature of love better. And I've imagined all of us at some point in our lives have had disappointment in loving relationships. I certainly have. I've been married 3 times, so I certainly have. And but what I do know is that whenever I've had any kind of heartbreaking experience, the thing that I know to do is to immediately start with forgiveness, because the one you're giving for is you. And it might take a moment to do it. My mother and I were not very close. My mother had her issues with alcohol. And I didn't realize, there was a book by Ken Kai's and Handbook to Higher Consciousness that I read back in the 70s. And he had workshops at that time. And what it basically was, what I'm sharing with you, to hold on to someone that has you feel hurt you in some way is not doing a darn thing to them, but it's destroying you because it's blocking you from experiencing sacred loving relationships. So in this workshop, I remembered, I don't have any recall of my mother ever hugging me and kissing me and telling me that she loved me or whatever. I believe, maybe wrong, I believe that that was the same experience she had with her mother and her mother's mother, etc. But my guide spoke to me one day. First of all, I didn't even realize I had I had this issue with this. I just know that I was pulling in relationships to fill a hole that, void in me that I thought someone outside of myself was going. I didn't know this stuff, but this is what was taking place. But that someone outside myself, um, in a male presence, was going to fill for me. And of course, it didn't work because that doesn't work. Anyway, so uh, I got one of those inner messages because I do believe in reincarnation, as I've said over and over. I don't believe that we die. I believe that we continue life in different expressions of life or different um, dimensions of life, different vibratory frequencies. And that, so my guys are saying, well, we know that you believe in reincarnation. So therefore, you know that you've had several mothers. Why are you so angry with this one? And that was a light bulb moment because it wasn't about her, it was about me. What was it that I needed to learn about love that I could begin to fill that void? And most importantly, I learned that no one comes into your life and usually, um, water seeks its own level. So wherever we are, we're going to bring someone that meets us at that level. So if we're feeling half fulfilled or whatever, then the person that we bring in, it's not going to be two halves create a whole. It doesn't work that way. You work to create the wholeness within you. That's a definition of the word health, is wholeness. You create to get that wholeness within you, and consequently you will attract others who will meet you in that place, whether it's a romantic relationship or whether it's just a relative or friend.
So is see, I see sacred and holy, and
Hmm.
I know people, and I could see everyone like going sacred. I don't think I could do it. Holy, I've done just too many things, wrong. How do
Yeah,
okay?
no.
And I'm saying you yes way, and it begins with a thought. I I have said to everyone, you are only one thought away
Hmm.
from becoming.
That's true.
Okay, just
That's true. I
one
agree.
thought.
I
You
agree.
know, um, I want to go similar because we're actually getting to know each other on this show. This is the
Oh,
same thing that happened to me and my mother.
okay.
Okay, um, you know, I realized though at a really young age about how my mother was treated by her father, and so I was and her mother. So I was very sensitive to my mom, and I remember that and I used to really feel that Het-Heru about no affection. All right, what changed me, and it really did, it changed me was when I was a junior in high school. One of my classmates' father died, and he was a great man. We all, he was a great man in the school. He helped out and everything. But my friend, she said if I could have just hugged him one
Oh,
more time,
wow. Wow.
right?
Mhm.
And I said, I'm gonna start hugging my parents.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I'd come in, I'd start hugging my mom, boy, get off me. I'm washing the dishes. I'm like, I don't care, mom. Let me have a
Yeah,
kiss.
good for you.
Okay.
Yeah, good for you.
And so all of us have had to at one time or another had to deal, with their parents, and are your parents still
No, she passed when I was 18.
okay?
And that was kind of the beginning of me taking a spiritual path because within a couple of years I was into yoga and seeing her body at her funeral and looking down and realizing that that which I had known as my mother was not who was lying in this casket. And I remember thinking, well, if that's not who we are, then who the hell are we? And I must have asked it sincerely enough that I began to get my answers within a couple of years, or a year, actually a year.
Right, because you
My
said you
father,
started at
hmm,
19. Remember,
I
you
know,
said
and
you
she
started
passed when I was 18, so it
at
was a year. You're
18,
right.
19. Yeah.
You're right.
Okay.
And my
I
father,
listen. I listen.
hmm, say it again.
I said
Yeah,
I
my
listen.
father passed in his 70s. So my father and I were very close. It was my mother gave me a certain kind of strength to today I appreciate. Um, and apparently, because I believe we choose our parents, the lessons that I learned with what I was just sharing was self appreciation, and it didn't have to come from my mother's approval. My mother didn't approve. You're not alcoholic, and you approve of yourself because you're going to take care of yourself. But knowing her mother and knowing her, that be an example of my great grandmother. These folks have all passed a long time ago, and bless them. And I know they moved on to new expressions of life. And uh, and as they say, I ain't mad with you. So thank you for what I learned. But I remember when I was meeting my great grandmother for the first time. My sisters and I, because my mother had moved to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania during my senior year of high school, and I went to meet my great grandmother. We called her Big Mom. And so I remember her saying, "Ooh, you sure have grown up to be a pretty woman." She said, "I was really concerned for you for a while because as a child you were ugly." So this is my great grandmother saying stuff like that to me. But because I had grown and matured, and it didn't bother me. But it was that kind of things that you have to learn to let that stuff roll off your back. Jeez, just because people say things, and why give up your power to them? And with the heart chakra, then you forgive them too. There are people in my life that just in the last couple of years that I thought I was very close to, and they have said things that made me realize that they were not the right person in my life at this particular time. Um, and I'm not mad with them. I'm not. I wish them no harm, oh Lord, because that what you send out comes back to you tenfold. So no, and I don't. I just because I'm operating from the heart chakra. They had their reasons for feeling and thinking the way, and that's with them. But at the same time, being true to myself, it's like, you know, this is not energy that's right for me. So I bless and I release you.
When I want to comment on that, when you can take all of that, okay, from the time you're born to this moment, okay, and when you can uh, uh, have the maturity where you turn it into total experience. Now you look at it and you go, oh, you know, that was experience. Look at me. I'm still alive. I can learn from those things. And it lets you just drop the scales.
That's right.
Okay. When you look at these things as roadblocks, as, oh, if it wasn't for my mom, I'm like, no, there's see that's you blocking yourself. That's you blocking yourself. And so what you want to do is free yourself. All the things that I used to like feel like remorse. I don't know if that's a word. I just feel like, oh my God, how did I was like that for so long and this and that and that and this. None of it matters now
Yeah,
because now it's a book of experience.
that's right.
Okay.
That's
So
right.
so here's the next question I want to ask you.
Okay.
Oh, great one. How do I activate the chart? How do
Oh,
I
great one.
activate the chart? The heart chakra. Okay. How can I dance? I want to dance. I want to be good. Okay, you're gonna help me dance better. Come on now. I need to know. Oh, great head of row. It's so great to be
That's funny.
here.
That's Well, a part of that's what I said through forgiveness. So
Yes.
I go to, I think I was telling you this earlier. I go to a place for breakfast often in the week. It's close, and a lot of us sit at the counter, and we exchange conversation. We have a good time. And we met a gentleman. This one of my girlfriends and I met a gentleman who had just recently moved to Vegas from California, and we got into conversation with him, and we were telling him that on the weekends we go to dance, and where we go to dance, and we told him, okay, well, the weekend that's coming up, this is where we'll be, and why don't you come and join us? An opportunity to meet new people, this and that. So he did come, but it just that's nice. Thank you, Amanda. And it was just so happened that that particular time, that particular day, there were more women than there were men. There were only a couple of men, and he was one of the two. And apparently that he was uncomfortable with that, so he referred to it as a harem. So anyway, but what was funny, he turned to the gentleman that was sitting next to him, who had just come to the counter, and he was new, neither one of us, and he's friendly, my friend, like I am, and he was telling him about, he says, hey man, do you dance and da da da, and this is what I did. And he says, yeah, he says, what I didn't realize was that I was going into the cult of Het-Heru. I said, just a minute, this is not a cult. But we just had a good time because, dancing is a heart chakra. When it's, well, let's see, I don't want to, yeah, to me, for me, and what I observed is that people are operating, because music is one of the greatest healers of all time. I love being around musicians because I can feel where they go in order to be a channel for this work to come through them. I had a teacher many of you may know or knew of, or maybe never heard of him. His name was Reverend Ike. And I remember Reverend Ike teaching us that there is healing and blessing even in a smile. And I remember that sometimes, I'll walk through someplace and I'll look at someone, they're looking at me, and I just smile and I can feel the difference there. When I'm sitting and talking to someone, remember Morgan Fairchild, the actress Morgan Fairchild? I think she was on,
Beautiful blonde, yes, of course.
yes, she was on Regis Philbin's show or somebody's show in LA many years ago. And somebody was commenting on how pretty they thought she was and how does that, what effect that has in meeting new people. And she said, I learned that whomever it is that people think Morgan Fairchild is, they feel intimidated to say something to me. So I learned to approach them. And that's what I do now. Now, oh, are you new here? How the servers, bless their hearts. Um, a lot of times people don't even engage them in conversation. They're just throwing out commands. There's a gentleman at this same place that I was talking about who busses the tables, and he wears a hat, more than a mask. He's not wearing it anymore, so maybe he's uncomfortable with it. But it said Gucci, so from that point on, I've called him Senor Gucci. And I realized one day, I said, God, I've been coming here for years. I speak to all these people, and I've never said hello to him. And so I started doing that. He giggles every time I do that. But it's like, hey, y'all, it's just us here. It is just us. No one's better than the other person. In truth, somebody's actions may not be coming from the heart chakra, lower chakras, rooted in survival, not being directed from the upper chakras. But in general, we are all here, like I said, collectively, and there is healing and blessing, even in a smile. There's a branch of yoga that's called Bhakti Yoga, which is unconditional love. And for a few years, I was a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga because any of us that met Indra Devi were also told about a holy man in India by the name of Sri Satya Sai Baba. And for many years, he was my spiritual teacher. Baba, to the Indians, is considered, he's passed on to be an avatar, which means that the idea is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, all knowing, all powerful, and ever present. Up to that point, somehow or other, the way I was being introduced to my higher power was rooted in fear. We use the word God. If you're studying the Kemetic teachings, it's the Unter. So it has all sorts of names, but we're talking about the supreme consciousness that we're not separated from. I am that I am. But I learned from Sai Baba. Like I said, the experience I had was this power was something to fear. That I had to, not be comfortable in my life, to always fear that I was going to do or say the wrong thing and somehow or other I was going to be punished and go to this place called hell. That was the programming. Well, I learned the untruth of that. But what I especially learned from Sai Baba was that God was love. And so the more I operate from a heart chakra place, the more I love you unconditionally, the more, and I don't, I make an effort. Sometimes I'm better at it than others, but in general, I'm really working on not judging. A lot of times we see people who are extremely overweight, and it's easy to judge them. Oh, you eat too much, and this is going on. Da 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 da. We don't know their history. We don't know if somebody harmed them physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally, and so they've created this big barrier around them. We don't know what's going on, but if nothing else, we could just look at each other and smile and forgive.
Yeah, it's time for everyone. We don't have our head in the sand now. Okay, the pandemic is over. People, which is really what it felt like.
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
locked up and nobody can see you. Okay,
True,
really,
very true.
all you could see was somebody's eyes, and for a
Mhm,
lot of people, they're still there. They're still
mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody didn't know who Morgan
Oh,
Fern
yeah,
was.
that's her.
Yeah,
That's
drop
her.
dead,
Yeah,
gorgeous lady.
yeah.
You know, um, Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I understood that because, I was well known in LA for the work that I did. And a lot of that was because I had done television, I had radio, and all this other stuff. And I remember going into a neighborhood store from where the yoga studio was, and there was one of my students, and he saw me and says, oh my God, it is you. I mean, he was just, and it's like, hey, I'm in a grocery store, so that shows it's not like I'm a saint or anything like that. I'm a person in here that teaches you yoga when you come to the yoga studio, and I'm in here doing my shopping. I did the Regis Philbin show a number of years ago, and my husband and I went to an expo, health expo, and we were leaving. Thousands of people were there. We were leaving, and he said, "But I need to go into the restroom." So he left me while he went. When he came back, there were at least 50 people around me because they knew me from this show that I had done. Saying all that to say is, I had the choice was either to operate from my ego. And ego's not a bad thing, but it does have a tendency of separating us from others. Or I could operate from the heart chakra, which is, well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that, and the work that I do has never been rooted in an ego base because I got the message loud and clear very quickly at the very beginning. You're a channel, okay? We're going to teach you these tools to make you a better channel, but it's our work that you're doing.
Okay, so let's go to
Mm.
now we're on the heart chakra, which is the fourth.
That's correct.
Heart plexus, unconditional love and for forgiveness, sacred love. And uh, give me the history of this one. I love to hear the history of each one of
Mm.
your when you do
How
it.
that came about?
Yeah,
Well, like I
yes,
said,
of course. Just,
all
I
these
mean,
oils were channeled to me.
I
This
have
was
no
not my
idea the
path.
smell. Okay, I
This was not what I had in mind. I was a yoga teacher, and when I stopped teaching yoga asanas, when I no longer had the studio, I did teach in the uh, Black community in LA, which is something I really wanted to do. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough people of color coming to me. I loved my students that did come to me, and I appreciate their support. And I met a lot of really lovely people, and some of my teachers came through the studio. But I wanted to expand what I was doing, and there seemed to be almost like an imaginary line, a barrier that folks wouldn't cross that to come to me. So I was very happy when I was able to go into the community and work not only with people who were Spanish speaking. My Spanish is so much, but at that time I actually spoke more. And anyway, so when I stopped doing that, I then moved to Santa Barbara and I taught at UC Santa Barbara, and I got one of those messages mm, that they wanted me to concentrate on healing by focusing on the chakra centers. I've shared this with some of you. And I thought, well, then that's interesting because I thought I've been doing this for all these 35 whatever years. But they had another plan. And so they began to channel these sacred oils to me. And when I first started with the heart chakra, because they gave me Kemet for the base chakra, Pata for the second chakra, Kepara for the third. And these are all Kemetic names. And then when I got to the heart chakra, they didn't give me a Kemetic name. They just said, sacred love oil. And at first, it was sacred love potion, I think, or something like that. And someone said, "Oh no, you can't do that. We've got that name patented, and this and that." So it was no deal. I wanted to keep it in the spiritual uh, foundation. Again, not religious, but us, each of us is a spiritual loving being.
love
So
potion number
there
5.
you go.
I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, yeah. And So they gave me one. It was the male energy. It was they called it Het-Heru, and the second one they called it Heru. And I thought, okay, fine. And I had, the oils were same oils. I'm telling you, this was probably past life. I have done something like this, but this was not what I was doing. But they told me everything, the everything, the design, the amounts, the everything. So, but what happened was that the price, because one of the major oils in it was sandalwood, and the price of sandalwood just jumped sky high. I mean, it was like $1,500 a pound or something like that. And in order for me to continue with that, I would have had to charge a lot more. My prices are very reasonable because I want folks, and the products are very concentrated, so they do last a long time. Anyway, so
A
I
long
thought, well,
time. A
yeah, a long
long
time,
time.
too darn long.
Okay. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
it. I get
uh,
it. It's you just,
yeah,
oh my gosh.
yeah, they
You
go a
just
long time.
feel it actually valuable. It's so much when you run out, you're like, "Oh my
I know that's true. I get that all the time.
me and my big mouth." Go
Well, so I said, okay, well, that's not going to work because that's too much money for what I want to do. If I wanted them to carry it in Beverly Hills or someplace like that, fine. But no, I want to come out to the people. Same way with my classes. So they then instructed me, no, now we want you to do this. So the oils became musk um, and geranium, nagchampa, and myrrh. And they again told me how much of each, and it became even more popular than the other ones. So, and as I said, always all of these have an affirmation because it's the uh, is to resonate with your inner being. I wish I'm hoping I'm saying the words to help you understand how this works. When I stopped teaching yoga asanas, I had enough of it. I'd done it a long time. I'd reached my hi Tracy, thank you. And when I had reached that place with that where it was time for me, and they had told me they wanted me to concentrate on healing to make whole through balancing by focusing on the chakra centers. I didn't know what they had in mind. So when they began to channel this information to me, oh, it was so much worked so much better for me for where I was in my place in this now because I had gained all of this information, this understanding, this I had studied with the creme de la creme, the metaphysicians that were there in LA and yoga teachers, and I read everything I could. I just a plethora of information. However, when you come to a yoga class, a lot of folks come because they want to move their body, and that had become too limiting for me. So with the oils, I had more freedom because when like if I'm doing a big show or something like that, and I have hundreds of people coming within a day's time of doing that, um, to watch them respond, like the sacred love oil, to watch them start crying or start laughing or just go into another space in their being. And I would see that so much. I said, okay, all right, this is the work that you want me to do. So I still consider myself a yoga teacher, but please understand that there are a lot of branches of yoga. Like I was saying, Bhakti yoga is the yoga of unconditional love. But I've studied Bhakti yoga and Raja yoga and mantra yoga, and I was in a yoga teacher. But I now call what I do Kemetic yoga because I bring it from its original intent, which came from ancient Egypt. So
Could you
when
explain
folks
that a
put a,
little bit? Could you explain a little bit about what you just said, the Kemetic yoga?
I
What does that
okay,
mean?
well, before uh, um, Egypt was originally known as Kemet, which means land of the dark or burnt people. They were the originators of what we now call yoga. Now, understand, we're talking about a time difference, we're talking about cultural difference, we're talking about a language difference. The ancient Egyptians, who were known as the Kemetic people, the Greeks and Romans changed the name from Kemet to Egypt. And folks, I still see these images of these women who look like Elizabeth Taylor. That's not the original people. They look more like me. And the hair styles that you see, that's locked hair that you're seeing. A lot of the statues that you see of the pharaohs and the queens and so forth, uh, if you're seeing real images, they're more African in nature than European. One of the things that I learned was that the noses were cut off so that people would not see the African influence. So my feeling is I'm going to know the truth, see, and then I can decide how I'm going to apply that into my life. But these wise people of that time um, lived. They were very evolved and were the forefathers and mothers of our sciences and our arts today. And so, what we're doing today that now have other names to it originally came from a 3200 BC, and you know, and um, have influenced our world today.
The thing that's interesting about your essential oils is, I mean, I don't even know how you make them. Do you do a
Oh,
mix with
mhm.
them?
I
Okay.
blend them. I
Yours
blend
are,
them.
compared to other essential oils, yours it just has a different feeling or texture to it also. It just feels more like
Um,
it's concentrated, like it's like a full concentration and not like watered down. I don't know if that's
oh
the
no, yeah. And then in perfumes and colognes, they add alcohol. Essential oils don't have alcohol. I think I told you last week. I used to go to Della Reese's church when I was living in LA years ago, and I remember one of her co-ministers, Dr. Charles Brown, who's still there. And Dr. Charles has studied a lot of these. He's an alchemist, and I remember when I shared them with him, he looked at me real seriously. He says, "Het-Heru, do you know what you did?" And I said, "Well, I think I do, but what do you think I did?" He said, "You brought these from ancient times." Well, that didn't surprise me because that's the work I do. It's taking what these ancient people knew and created and worked with to share with us today because they could see what was ahead. They could see the troubling times, the difficult times, and they created all these art forms, whether it was yoga or tai chi or that was all created in order to assist us in today's world while the planet is on its way toward becoming sacred.
Yeah, I want to. We're coming to the top of the hour, and I just want to make sure that you all know uh, het-heru.com. Um, Definitely go on her website, learn a little bit more about, just even the history. If you want to get a hold of her, it's info at het-heru.com. And this is her website. Now, this is not all that. She has soaps also. Now, this one right here is Imani. We just literally love. My wife that's her favorite. Where you at, honey? She says that
Mhm.
there's her comment about that. So, I want to make sure that you all know we're going to be talking more and more. I'm one of those people that just really believes in her, uh, in this. Okay. So I'm really, uh, if you really want, and you've heard her story, and I just want to say it's an amazing story. I didn't know that. I thought you were like, oh, you just started making essential oils, and that's what you're doing, and then there's this whole thing about you,
Uh,
you know,
mhm.
and
I
that's
wanted
where
to
we're
say, yeah,
good.
when I've done shows, California's California, and I would be asked, are these oils, what do you call them, organic? And I said, well, as far as I know, they are, but in all honesty, they're coming from other parts of the world. I trust my vendors. If they're telling me they're organic, they're organic. I said, but what I can say with all honesty and sincerity, I know they're sacred because I know what I've had to do in order to be a channel for them to come through.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, folks, hang tough. This too shall pass. No, it's the world isn't getting ready to be blown up. It's and my feeling is if the creator has no use for this planet anymore, then life doesn't begin or end here. But that's just keep a high thought. Keep a high thought. And as I said, spend some time daily and focus on how you want to see the planet, to see the world, see the people in these parts of the world that are going through this, and embrace them in light and in love. And thank you for letting me share this with you.
Well, it's always a pleasure having you on here. We'll be back next week. And
remember to subscribe, everybody.
Yes, please subscribe. We'll be reminding you that that's the only way that they're not putting this in the search engine. So you have to really press that bell to be notified, okay? Because all they want is news and how men don't like women and women don't like men and just the things that do the clickbait. And so this is a sacred time for all of us here right now. We want to take this every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. And thank you for the comments tonight. We want people to start coming in, make a comment.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, if you have a question for Het-Heru, we can answer those. It'll make it really cool. So, Het-Heru, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Yeah. Peace and love. Let's give her another hand, everybody. Yeah. Great job, Het-Heru. Thank you so much. We're honored. All right, okay. I got to finish the show here. I don't hear you clapping for me. I'm so honored to have Het-Heru here. And we have so many other people that are going on. Tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow's Thursday. No, my show will be coming out. It should be on Friday. I got to help someone get into a hospital tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about modify. Okay? We're in a world, we're in an age right now. Baby, you better learn how to modify. Okay? What's, modifying? I mean, it's no different than, what you have to do with your relationships. Okay? We all have to take risk. All right? And is this the age of the risk now? Okay? Because we may have to risk something in order to get something different. So no matter what, you can change it with a thought. One thought, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to see you next time. Please subscribe to my channel here, and there's a couple other videos you can see. Het-Heru's, our last couple shows, okay, so you can catch up with it in case you haven't seen the other shows. Till next time, everybody, be sacred and love